Hello everyone, and welcome to our voice actor Q&A panel. We have collected quite a few talented people here, and we're reading through your questions, and they're going to answer them. So I'll kind of go through the list here. Today with us we have Ben and Matrix, who plays our Ichigo. Say hi.
Hey.
We have Clown, or Liam, who plays our Gremmy.
Hello, hello. I had to do it.
We have Cole, who plays our Yamamoto.
Greetings.
We have Loom, who plays our Uryu.
Getsuga Tensho, or whatever the fuck it is.
Wrong one. Uryu's the badass one now, apparently. It's not Ichigo, it's him.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We have Red Alexander, who plays Shinji.
Hello.
We have me, who plays more people than I want to, but so far I've played Byakuya. We have Soname, who plays Yoriichi, and you play Soifong and Bambi as well.
Yeah.
And we have Squeaky, who plays Orihime.
Hi. I also play like 3 other people.
But they haven't aired yet.
Exactly.
And we have Tatiana, who plays our Momo.
Hi.
So we've collected a few questions, and we'll be going through them. But first of all, I'd like to ask all of you some general questions. The first being a very basic one. What got you into voice acting, and how did you find this project, or how did you find out about it? So we'll go down from the top to the bottom. So we'll start with you, Ben.
Well, I actually found out a lot about voice acting through Bleach because when I was younger, me and my brother would turn on and just watch Bleach, and I thought I saw the main character, and I'm like, wow, he has a cool voice. How does he do that? So I'm like, yeah, that's basically how I figured out. It was through Johnny Young Bosch.
So you did know about Bleach before we contacted you. Yeah. That actually answers a few people's later questions. And how did you find out about the project / how were you contacted?
I was actually contacted by Ryno through emails. He told me that he saw a bunch of my the related projects that I was in. He was like, "Hey, you sound like Johnny Young Bosch. You want to audition for your for my Bleach thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
That was really. It took us forever to find an Ichigo, so when we finally found one, I was like, oh, good, because like some of the other characters people can be a little bit more lenient on. So like if we changed how, and especially with so many new characters, like for Soname it'd be easier because she plays a character called Bambi who doesn't have a voice actor yet, so she can kind of do it how she wants. She can take her own spin on it. But for Ben, it's a lot harder because he has to sound just like Ichigo, otherwise people are going to get really mad, or he has to sound really good. So there's a lot more pressure, which is why I'm extra thankful. And Liam, how about you? Same question.
Oh yeah, so I pretty much found about voice acting the same way, like through just watching shows as a kid. I was always fascinated with it. I eventually like learned the names and learned how to recognize each voice, and that just carried on like for years and years until like I learned about different licensing companies like Funimation. Like, oh, Funimation's the best one. And then, and then I started hating voice actors too. I became really critical of it. Sentai Filmworks, cough, cough. And how I heard about the project was through Blazing Azure Pro, Logan. I heard about it through him. He did like an advertisement for it. I think.
We did a little. I did some art for his project, and he did a little shout out.
Yeah, so then I got into the Discord through looking up your channel, and just went from there. I got in since the beginning, so
you have been here for quite a while, yeah. And Cole, how about yourself? Okay.
Did he just
Oh, it says he quit. No.
There we go. Cool. My computer's loading up.
It's okay. We can wait for a second.
We know. We understand.
Back in 2012.
Hey, I haven't. Oh, actually, my YouTube channel has been around since 2012.
Let me take you back.
Yeah.
Although,
I was watching the fake Katakura arc in Bleach, and I heard Ginryu's side. I was just like, you know what? I'm him. From now on, that's it.
You just decided. I created my project not so that I could revive Bleach, but so that Cole could voice Yamamoto.
yeah, essentially. And then I met Ryan, and it was 3 a.m, and I was like, can I try out for Yama? And he's like, yeah, sure, why not? I guess, because he was interested. And James Hansen joined, and I did my audition in front of him and James, and I got it.
Funny enough, I think you and Liam and Red are the only 3 people still left that have kept your roles from the beginning. Like when I did my first, because I've replaced people, right? And because that was one of the bigger things was, and it was really hard for me because anyone here who really knows me well, I'm a bit of a pushover, and it was hard because my standard at the beginning of the project was a lot lower than it is now, and I'm trying to aim for like TV quality, and a lot of people weren't hitting that standard, and a lot of people's setups and their microphones they weren't.
Oh yeah, I remember criticizing that a lot.
Yeah, that was a major issue, and there's people who I met from the beginning. They've been supporting me from the beginning, and I pretty much was giving voice acting roles to just friends, which was a huge mistake in 2020. And I had ended up having to replace a bunch of people, and it was really hard for me because I wasn't sure if it would kill the friendship or not. And thankfully, I haven't experienced that yet. Everyone was really good about it, but there was some stress and there was some arguments over it, but I'm glad that Liam, Cole, and Red have stuck around through all this time.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
And so, Loom, the same question goes to you.
I was in Anime Club at one point. They showed Team 4-Star, and I thought, wow, maybe I could do this too. And I ended up doing it for about a few years, quit. And Jester, who's one of the voice directors here, met up with me again and asked me to be a part of this project.
Yeah, I remember hearing about you from Tristan. And the pretty much the 3 roles that we couldn't really find anyone for, and the third one we never did, were Ichigo, Uryu, and Ishin. We never found a voice actor for Ishin because there's some guys in here with deep voices, but no one really sounds to be like in their 40s. And if they're in their 40s and on Discord looking to join my project, well then, something went wrong.
Yeah. Or right.
Or right, it depends how you look at it. But yeah, I remember that, and one of the things that Tristan said about Loom was probably the most helpful thing with Loom's ability is he can manipulate his voice and how he goes about doing his lines a lot. And so we were kind of just told, it's kind of like clay, and so if you just work with some voice actors, you can get like the perfect voice for your characters.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I was on green mode at the beginning of this, and I've amassed like 50 messages saying Retro Ryno's in green mode, what? And I'm like trying to go through and like click away from these people. God. Oh man, I love Discord. Okay.
Back into stealth mode.
Mm-hmm. That's why I went into red. So, speaking of red, what's your answer to this very general and vague question?
So I think when it comes to getting into the project, it's been so long now, but I know it was one of the shout-outs. It was either a Soul Madness shout-out, or someone else said it in here, the Blazing Azura
Logan saying, yeah.
One of those two. Yeah. And then I got into the Discord. I remember I'm pretty sure I was one of the earlier people. I Patreoned you because I thought I really liked the cause. I know it was like pretty recent after.
Let's be honest, you just felt bad for me.
Well, I also thought you were a cool person, and I wanted to, get in your club. But this was right after Bleach's manga ended, and of course, the hole in my heart was not filled.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the reason I was coming to it was the fact that you were actually making changes to the plot, and I liked that. But that's where I got into this. And then voice acting wise, for Shinji specifically, I remember watching the scene where Shinji fights Grimmjow. Over and over and over and over again, to the point where like I memorized his inflections to like an obsessive degree, which is why when I wanted to audition, it was like I gotta go for Shinji. That's the one, So I really thank you for this opportunity, because Shinji is my favorite character in Bleach, and I'm honored to be voicing him.
That's really nice. Thank you. I don't know if I'd really ask myself the question. I found out through the project probably the next night because I was drunk when I made it. I'm kidding.
And you're like, oh, what have I gotten myself into?
Oh crap, that's a big promise.
Project, who runs it? Oh wait, I do.
Yeah, I didn't figure that out until about 2 months in. No, but for me, I don't really. For my voice acting, I will not consider myself in the same league as you people. I pretty much do it because I have roles that I need to fill. And when I was younger, I did want to be a voice actor. That was one of the two things I wanted to do, was either animating or making video games, or voice acting. I think that I could be good at it if I put in the time and effort and the studying that you guys did, but I don't want to consider myself on your guys' level. But I can say that I've learned a lot with working with you guys, so thank you very much for that. So Sonima, the question goes to you as well.
Well, how I got myself involved with this project is that Sean, our friend Sean, I think he's the voice of Asnot.
He's the voice of
he
many
told me
people.
about the project. Yes, I can't remember the rest of them though. So the voice of Asnot, he told me like, hey, there's this really cool Bleach project. I think, you could probably audition for it and you'd actually get a part. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll try it. It sounds fun. And so I auditioned for Soy Phone and Bambietta, and I'm happy I got them.
I remember back when I had an old partner with the project that I ran it with, named Jim, and when we heard your audition, I remember Jim screamed because
for which one?
I think it was for the first one they heard was your Yoriichi one, actually.
When you came to me after asking me to audition for Yodo.
Because I caught a feeling for it, and I was like, at that time I was also like, this person has a good voice for this character and this character. This is great, because I started finally getting like really talented people, and before it was like, I won't take a shot at any of our old voice actors, but pretty much it was people like recording on their phones or they had like headsets for Xbox kind of thing, and it was like, so it was like such a huge right, and it was such a giant jump, and so we were just so just flabbergasted by people who actually knew how to voice act. But it was definitely really exciting, and I do remember going through it, and it makes me really excited as an animator to get around to having it done so that we can put the voice acting over it, because that's kind of like, I'm sure for anyone else who's an artist or they create their own things or read their own stories, when you see it after someone else has kind of added to it, it becomes something you can enjoy. Like before, it's just your own creation that you're kind of just judging and looking at, and you go, oh, I could have done that differently, or like it's just like something to critique. But when the voice actors do their thing and we get sounds and music over the product, it's something that I can sit back and enjoy as well. So that is something really cool with you guys. So Squeaky, you're up next.
So I'll start with how I figured out that voice acting was a thing that people could do. Well, like most, I watched TV, I watched the animus and read the mangas, and watching a lot of Inuyasha, I was like, I want to do what the people in the credits do one day. And then when I got this dinky little desktop microphone from my dad from his old office, I was like, you know what? There are people who are making their own animus on the YouTubes, and and I'm gonna audition for them. They were called Fanime. They were cringe and horrible, but it was where I started way back in 2008, I think.
Wow.
I've been doing it for a long time, and as for learning about the project itself, I actually learned about it through Jester, and I don't know how Jester found out about it, probably as a shout out from someone. But Orihime was already taken at that time.
That was actually a thing. That was that was my first experience with having to replace a voice actor, because the old Orihime was a very close friend of mine, but she was no like experienced voice actor, although she was doing her best. And when Squeaky did her audition for it, it was kind of like two different worlds, and so I was like, I knew I had to, and it was really hard for me, but thankfully my friend was really good about the whole situation and was very understanding. So and
but before I'm sorry, I was saying before getting Orihime, I actually had, funny enough, also auditioned for Bambietta and Giselle, and that caused a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah.
So.
And you also voice Lisa and Hiyori as well, don't you?
Yep, and Karin.
Yeah. and Kari. So as long as we don't put them all in the same room, we'll be okay.
Exactly.
Just a scene with all of them talking. It's just the same person.
That was the thing with Sean, because Sean's voice types matched so many characters that talk to each other that we were kind of like, oh god, how are we going to deal with this? Sean was actually supposed to be Byakuya originally, but because he was also as not, he actually, a funny thing, he blew out his voice doing as not, and he couldn't keep going for a while, so I was like, okay, what do we do? So I wasn't originally supposed to be Byakuya, and I tried for it, and I asked him for advice and help because he's done this a lot longer than I have, and we ended up making it work somehow, but it's been a long, long ride so far. But yeah, there's another question, and some of the people in the comments asked all of you questions as well, so I'll go through it. This one's for...
What about Tatiana?
Oh, Tatiana, sorry. You go ahead.
Don't. It's
I don't have Discord open, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Go ahead, Tatiana.
I found out about this because I had just finished rewatching Bleach for like the trillionth time or something, and I just needed more material, so I found Ryno's channel. And I think it was like an announcement about needing voice actors or something, or like joining a Discord, so I joined, and I've been here for a while. And I don't know if I think I did submit an audition.
You did.
But
there was a period where we changed it, and even all the old people, we made them submit auditions even if they already had the role, just so we could keep it in our files and stuff, because we started doing things with Google Drive and keeping things organized. But yeah,
Momo wasn't exactly a very popular character, so it was pretty easy to get this role. So, yeah, I don't know. I've done a few voice acting projects before. They weren't they weren't as professional, I guess, as this one, but the experience helped, I guess. But yeah, so.
Awesome, thank you. And Ruka's here now. Wait, I didn't even get this out for you, Joy.
Well, now you can.
Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Ruka and Yami are now here. Our Rukia and Aizen voice actors. So say hi, guys.
Hey, what's up? Didn't mean to arrive the same time as Aizen.
No one does.
Wait. Without my
Aizen's just dead.
Oh, he just said I'm just peeking in. Oh.
Aizen, we need you.
Oh.
You're the most popular.
What if we were just... They're like, we don't believe you actually have an Aizen.
He also said just use my
then a million more people.
You can. You don't need.
It should be all right.
Yeah, you don't need to use any god microphone for this. This is just a little Q&A.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
We don't have an Aizen voice actor.
Since when were you under the impression?
Oh,
that's my worst.
Okay. There we go. All right. So, and the question for Yami, I'm not sure if you heard, but you and Ruka are yet to answer the question. 1, how did you get into voice acting? And 2, how did you find out about the project? So Ruka and then Yami, whenever.
Okay.
Alright, so I got into voice acting because I needed a creative outlet, and I was sick at the time, so I couldn't do theater. So I found voice acting through some creative pursuits, and I actually hadn't seen Bleach before this project. Retro contacted me, I believe, through email, and asked if I would be interested in voicing Rukia, or if that's what he had in mind after hearing my demo. And I was super curious, and so I sent some samples, and that's how I found out about it. And then I watched Bleach after that. I binged after that. So, yeah, I'm grateful to have been introduced to Bleach through this. That was fun.
Yeah, I'm good. It's okay. It's decent. Spent 2 years animating.
Especially the filler.
I thought the first 4 seasons were like the end of it. I thought it was just 4 seasons.
What's at the end of the 4th season again?
The 4th season is the beginning of the bounty.
Oh, please don't tell me you watched
Oh no.
No, I only watched the first 4. I was like, wait, 4 seasons of Rukia getting saved?
Yeah.
What? And then I found out there were so many more.
They don't run as fast as they do in the manga. It's a bit of a nerf, but they do their best.
If you skip the filler, it's more tolerable.
Yeah. I actually didn't... Bleach was my first anime as well, so I didn't know if filler was a thing. I didn't even
Same.
know that there was filler.
Same.
And I ended up skipping the Princess Lauricchio arc, even though I was like fully committed. I'm just like, this is just not watchable. Oh, I just refreshed the page and Bambi got another question. I'll add that to the list.
Oh shit.
Hey, that's one
This
more
one's
question.
appropriate, so that's good. That was the other thing. I'm trying to filter
there
through
goes me,
these
boss.
questions.
None for Yama. I mean,
There are, I think there was one. All right, so I'll just go through the questions like this, and I can move it around after. Also, thank you guys so much for showing up. I'm sorry to take your time like this.
No worries, we got half an hour more before I have to take an Uber now.
It's fine.
Thank you again.
Yeah, you want to get Liam's questions out there?
Okay, let me look for. What was that Grimmy question? Like, it was something about.
I saw it in the comments.
Yeah, it was something about like, how does it
Yeah, you
feel?
had Grammy's power. There was two actually.
Oh yeah,
There was
okay, I
one
found it.
You had Grammy's power. Like, how would you fight Kenpachi? There was that.
All right, I'll ask you that. Are you good for that question? You okay with it?
Should be.
Okay.
Should be.
All right, so I'll start with you first since you got to get going. All right, so first question up is for Liam, who voices Grammy. The question is, Grammy, if you had Grammy's powers, how would you have fought Kenpachi? Spoiler warning.
I would pretty much have done everything differently. Like, like everything, right?
Are you trying to say
What did
Grammy
he
could have
do,
done
right?
better in that fight?
Oh yeah, no shit. Yeah, but you know, this is how it pretty much went. It's like, oh, water prison, and then you fall in a crater, and then it shoots you with guns and missiles, and black hole. You know.
I think Kuma
it
just
was
wanted
really
to draw
good.
those things.
Oh, me
Yeah,
too.
it was, yeah, that was pretty much the reason, right? Like, you know, meanwhile, on how he, on what he did to Yachiru, just straight up, no cause and effect. Yeah, your bones are now useless, right?
He could have done
Like-
that to Kenpachi, but you know.
Yeah, you know, like, you could have just done that to Kenpachi, right? But, you know, I understand you can make it an interesting fight, but, you know, literally anything would be my answer to that question.
Yeah. There's another question for Grammy. If you had, wow, it's the same thing. Someone else asked the exact same thing. All right, hold on. There's another one.
It's a good question.
It is a good question.
All right.
How does it feel to voice one of the most hated characters in the final arc?
Hey, man, feels good, man.
Feels good to be a gangster, you know.
It fits Liam. It really does.
It does fit Liam.
Yeah, like I'm a real controversial person. A lot of people don't like me, so you know, it does fit me to a T. I must admit that.
Okay.
So yeah, you know, it feels good. Feels like I'm being me while doing it. It's good stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you so much, Liam.
No worries.
Okay.
Pepe would have been like one of the more hated characters.
Oh my
Pepe
God.
Pepe is just one that people just forget about because you know, when you have a traumatic experience and your brain blocks it out. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like
And
it's
then when
based
you
on
remember him, it's like, oh, this rage just
Oh,
resurfaced.
never
You're
again
ready
do
to
I
Pepe
want
out,
to
right?
see adult diapers. Oh my god.
Oh.
For those of you who are voicing a character that previously didn't have a voice, so pretty much 1,000 Year Blood War arc only characters, so that would go under, that would affect Liam, that would affect Sonami, that would affect Yami in a way because he voices our Watch as well. Or now I think Bleach Brave Souls just announced that it was like Yuha Bach or something like that. We had
I was right.
we had
I was right.
Yeah, everyone had. We used to, when we saw that and we're like, we have to figure out a name for this guy, and he's got like 4 different names. This is great.
Yeah.
Does anyone else voice a character that's 1,000 Year Blood War arc only?
Gerard.
Not yet. Not yet. Nuh-uh. No. The question for you guys would be, what was your thought process in coming up with a voice for your character since you didn't have anything to go off of? So, I guess any of you answer? How about you, Sonami?
Well,
oh, sorry. I just cut
okay.
you. Well, no. How about you, Sonami?
Mine. I'm kidding.
So for like how I chose a voice for a character that has never had one before.
Yeah.
Basically I tried to get just a voice that would fit the face, and then also try to read up on the character itself, since I know nothing of the 1,000 Year Blood War. I know nothing. So I had to research the character a little bit, see what they're like, and then look at like a manga panel of like just a couple different ones to see facial expression and just how the character looks and try to match a voice to that.
And you probably also like try and relate it to other characters they remind you of and put voices to well, they look like this angry character from this show, like this looks like Yoko from Gurren Lagann, and she was kind of like this, so maybe I'll try something like along the lines.
Yeah, basically.
And how about you, Yami?
I guess for like looters, for example.
Oh yeah, you voiced Ludus, or how we have a German friend who got really angry at me for how we were pronouncing his name.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. But I mean, we can't please everyone. But yeah, as you were saying, go ahead.
Yeah. I guess just from looking at him, he just looked like this conceited asshole. And
accurate.
And I just thought, and I just thought that, you know what, I gotta give this guy a very pompous kind of voice to him.
Very confident.
Very confident. Very for whatever reason, I was just doing these random impressions of Bleach characters one day, or at least the ones that I could muster decently, or something to that effect. And I just remembered how much I liked doing Gin.
Yeah, I remember you told me about that once. Yeah. Spoiler warning.
I was like, right, yeah. I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna give him a little splash of Gin with when doing his reads, and so that's kind of how that voice. Yeah, that's how that voice in particular was used for him. And then as for Yuha Baha, which is not the voice I'm using, don't worry.
Yeah.
I kind of just went off of oh geez, his name eludes me now. The original voice actor for Zangetsu.
Oh, Richard, yeah. Actually, Cole's met him. And
I interviewed him.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, awesome.
Last week.
Actually, one of the only Retro Ryno fan things I've ever received was from Cole, and it's a signed picture of Misaki, who I think Richard's wife voiced Misaki in the show as well.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Miss Elaine.
And that was really cool. It's like the only proof I have that I was Retro Ryno.
Was past tense?
I'm getting old. I'm sorry.
Oh, you don't feel like you're Retro Ryno anymore?
No. Now I'm just the past Ryno. I got, as most retro things do, you know, they go out of fashion.
Relic Ryno.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, God. That's gonna be something that will come up in the comments more than I want it to. And I think, yeah, it's just really you two that voiced the newer characters, and Liam, but I'm pretty sure, Liam, you're not able to talk anymore. Can you talk?
No, yeah.
So, what went through your mind for Grammy?
Alright, so when you guys were holding auditioning, I was like, alright, what character can I voice that my accent doesn't show much in?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I remember that.
Again, 99% of characters. Yeah, if you want to get into voice acting and you have an accent, you're in for a trip. It's hard. It's hard to master that stuff. So yeah, like I'm like, alright, Mayuri, he's been taken, can't do that. I remember at one point I went for, what's his name?
Didn't you go for
Echo is voicing him now. Yumichika. I went for Yumichika.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I got Yumichika and I was like, and I wasn't up to my own standard with it. I'm like, yeah, I'll find someone else. So I found a current Yumichika. I just like, yeah, please take it. I can't mask my accent with this character. So then I just focused on Grammy, got that, and I was happy with it. So yeah, good stuff. Also, I like the character. It was one of the cooler fights. It wasn't a well-written fight, but it was cool.
That was actually one of the things that when I first started the project, I made a list of things to change or work on, and Kenpachi was like the number 4 thing I wanted to change. The first being the final fight.
The beauty about that fight is you can do whatever you want.
You could. It's honestly that would be an animator's dreamland, because you can literally, hey, I like to animate only dolphins coming out of the ground really hard. Well, do we have a fight for you, mister?
Yeah, and
there better be a dolphin attacking Kenpachi.
There will be.
Get creative, please.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's my answer to that.
Awesome. Thank you. So there's some questions for Ichigo. here. There's who's voicing Ichigo, and God, it's Ben. We went over that. One of the questions was, for whoever plays Ichigo, are you worried about people's reaction or people being unsatisfied with your Ichigo, since he's like the most popular character and people are really critical about what he sounds like? Is that something you're worried about?
Honestly, not really. I mean, even if my own voice isn't that close to what Johnny's is, I mean, it's my own interpretation of it, and there's always the original to go back to if it's not something that you enjoy.
Mm-hmm. That was a thing for me as well, because like I think I said earlier, like you do have a Johnny Young Bosch sound, but you're kind of your own thing as well, which I like, because when you try to make something just like a mimic of the original, in most cases no one's ever gonna live up to the original. You know, like you can get close, but you're never really gonna touch that. And even if you do practically touch it, someone's gonna be like, no, this old one was better. But if you try and like divert and deviate to somewhere like different and kind of give your own originality to it, then no one can really be like, oh, he does such a bad Johnny Young Bosch. Well, no, he's just doing his own thing, so he can't be doing it badly. And also, as voice actors, I'm sure it's a lot easier when you guys are staying within your range and your own voice type, you know, for when you're doing voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be something to really, you know, appreciate and learn for. There's a question for me for how difficult was it to find a voice for Ichigo? Extremely difficult, and I hated it. It took way too long, and if I hear one more joke about took 2 years to animate, yeah, it's more than just animating, okay? Thank you. I'm not aggressive.
I saw a pretty funny comment. I saw a pretty funny
go
comment.
Ahead.
Like, see you in 2 years for the next episode.
I left my computer when I saw that. I read that and I was like, I'm getting a drink. Goodbye. There's a few questions for Bambi actually. Zeno says, Bambi.
Okay.
I don't know how you did it, but I'm wondering if you found a nice balance between crazy and cute, because Bambi is kind of like a very on both sides character where she's like, I'm thinking about something, I'm gonna kill you, like kind of thing.
Yeah, like she's normal 1 minute and then she can go kind of like insane the next.
Yeah. How did you find that balance?
How did I find it?
Yeah. Is it what's your mind frame for Bambi?
Man, this is gonna be a little bit difficult because I don't know Bambi all that well. So I kind of did my own thing with it, but I try to keep to what her character actually is too, you know?
Mm-hmm.
From what I saw. So I don't know if I'm actually keeping true to it or not, but I kind of hope I am from what I figured from some of the panels I saw.
I would say you've done well so far.
Okay, that's good.
There's another question for Bambi. Says, what inspiration did you take for her character? She's a very volatile character, figuratively and literally, and her personality is quite sadistic. How did you approach it, and what's your thoughts on her? Kind of a little bit more specific than the last question.
Yeah,
Do you try and get, like, especially with that sadistic part, do you ever, like... how do you kind of get into character like that, or do you just kind of...
I guess you just I try to look at the facial expressions too, like how I guess sadistic she looks, and try to make sure I get that with my voice, you know, like whether I have to do a maniacal laugh before I record like a really maniacal line or whatever, it kind of helps.
I think everyone in here, just a question for all of you real quick. When you're doing your voice acting, I'm sure you guys, you find yourself twisting your face and making pretty funny expressions while trying to get lines out properly.
Not doing it right if you're not. Yep. Funny enough, I wanted to actually interject because when I had auditioned for Bambietta a while back, what really helped get into her character was looking at that one scene where she's clearly plowing some dude and then she kills him right after.
Oh god.
Well, I actually haven't seen that.
That really helps.
That's something that...
Yeah, I need to go to Squeaky for advice.
Yeah. I'm just really serious all the time.
We do give you a lot of characters that way, don't we? Yeah.
She also kind of reminds me of Regina George. So also think of Regina George if you've seen Mean Girls.
I've never seen Mean Girls.
Me neither.
lot of movies I haven't seen.
Yeah, it tends to happen.
I haven't even seen Lord of the Rings yet.
What?
To be fair, I haven't either.
Okay, you'll have to attack us both. But anyway,
I'm yelled later.
oh, do you have?
No, I'm
Oh, okay, you're just kidding. Okay. Ichigo. Here's a you can answer this question if you want to or not. Or if you want to or not, that makes it you got no choice. No. Ichigo, are you happy that you got into the final version of Jump Force? That's a video game that Ichigo got into that people are really happy about.
Mm-hmm.
Are you happy?
Better answer in the voice, bro.
Otherwise, they'll riot.
Well, I'm glad they're finding some way to milk me.
Oh.
Oh.
I think that's the best way of putting it.
Oh, baby.
Oh, no.
Whoa now, hey,
Hey.
calm down.
He said it, not me.
Okay, here's a question that I'll ask all of you, and do try to, let each other talk. How do you guys feel about when you find a voice line that you kind of deem edgy, or just something that you're like, I don't know about this? Like, what do you find? Like, maybe not so much like, I don't feel comfortable saying this, but like, do you, like, it's so out of character for yourself, and you have to kind of go, like, twist yourself or act a way that you've never acted before?
I guess I can go first with that. Sorry, because I already kind of prepared an answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, I don't know, I'd never get that feeling. Like, the hardest things that I'd get is, if I find a line, that, I struggle to hide my accent in. But, with voices like, with lines like, just like, oh, it's too edgy, I've never gotten that feeling before. I actually get excited. I love,
You like stuff like
doing new
that?
stuff and stuff like that. I like it. Like, pushing boundaries is fun.
So I guess we could maybe generalize the question to what's probably the hardest aspect of voice acting for you guys? I think that would be a little bit more general. So, any of you?
For me, I'm not really a loud person, and I've definitely come across certain lines where it involves screaming, and I just have to get into a quiet room and kind of just like warm up, slowly just start screaming louder and louder.
That's probably something I've seen most of the voice actors struggle with, is lines where they had to yell.
I was actually gonna say the exact same thing. I grew up in a very authoritative household, if you will.
So yelling's not a thing for you?
Any sort of yelling, yep. Any hint of just raising your voice, it's just, no, stop it, just being brought on to you tenfold. So it's like I'm naturally a very reserved, quiet person.
I'm sure something else that's probably hard for you, and I can somewhat relate to it because some of the other characters that I play a lot of deep voiced characters, as you do as well. It's very hard to yell while doing a deep voice. Like, it's being loud but keeping that baritoneness. It's difficult. I'm sure you could agree.
Oh, for sure. It definitely is.
And Cole, yeah.
It's the exact opposite for me. Actually.
Really? Because you voice Yam.
Because I'm naturally a loud person. I'm boisterous. I come from an Italian family, yo. Like, we're all screaming
Hey,
and hollering.
I'm Italian too.
I actually tried to do that one line that you're gonna have to do, where Yamamoto goes, his Bankai was not this week. I originally tried doing a Yamamoto because before I had people. Did you ever hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard it.
On the Google Drive. I ended up spitting blood from that. Like, that was
Really?
Yeah. I destroyed my. I pushed it way too far.
You're alive, though.
That's hardcore.
I was saying never do that.
Yeah.
The hardest line for me was actually saying Bankai Zanka no Tachi, because I was like, alright, he's obviously not screaming it. So when he goes, it's just going to be a low growl. And I couldn't get the
Yeah.
to do properly.
Yamamoto's Frankenstein. Yeah.
I struggled with the Bankai stuff too.
Yeah, and also you got to keep that, like that collected and seriousness. But when you yell, like, they get a little bit
You
more.
still have to keep it.
Yeah, you got to keep it. It's hard.
You can't crack at all.
I've got
Yeah,
like
'cause she's very serious.
Red and Ben and Sonami. I don't think you guys have said, and I think maybe Squeaky. I haven't said what.
I haven't answered yet.
Yeah, haven't. What's hard about voice acting for you guys?
Early on, actually, for me, it was also yelling, but it eventually was just kind of like, if I really want to do this, I'm gonna have to learn how to yell. So I took notes from myself when I would sing in the shower.
Oh, That is
I
a
was
place
like,
where you can.
usually when one is in the shower and they're able to sing, most of the time that hesitation usually leaves. So it's taking that attitude and then putting it in front of a microphone. Just pretend you're in the shower and just be loud.
That's actually
Or just think of like when it comes to frustration and things like that, obviously thinking of things that make you mad. I think still the hardest thing for me is crying.
Oh yeah.
Yes, for sure. Oh my.
That is hard.
One of the reasons I also find crying hard is that it's not so much getting into it, it's stopping.
Oh, that much.
Because I tend to think of some pretty depressing things to get myself into that crying mood.
And then you gotta
so then
get
when
out
it's
of
like, yeah, so then it's getting out of it, then it's like, well, I need like 5 minutes and a piece of chocolate now because I'm crying. So that I'd say is probably one of the hardest aspects for me.
Yeah, that could be a thing, because like, especially for beginning voice actors, and like I said at the start, I don't want to consider myself on your guys' level at all, but I have had to try to think as some of you have thought when doing your stuff, because obviously if I'm going to voice anything or help out in that, because there's some roles we haven't found or some that I do have an interest in voicing some things myself, like it's fun, but it can be really awkward and you can feel really uncomfortable, like just sitting there by yourself and having to just talk to yourself and be boisterous and emoting, and it's not anything like recording videos for YouTube, because you're just sitting there, hi guys, first episode still not done, stop asking, bye. Like I can just be calm like that, but if it's for voicing, like actually one of the things is Byakuya. If there is a part, a little spoiler, where he begs Ichigo right before dying, and he kind of is crying or a bit at least emotional, and Ruka, you can probably relate because Byakuya is basically male Rukia. You have to be emotional. Oh, sorry, I'm out. I don't have my ribs anymore. Goodbye.
Could you? It's too soon for me.
Yeah, and it's hard though, because like they're so monotone and serious, but now, like, how emotional do you make them? Like it's like, I'm not sure where to put it.
It's a stoic emotion.
It is, and I know a lot of people in real life like that, and you know, it's really, it's something that's hyped up a lot. Like, you guys have a friend that's always happy, never upset or serious or angry, but then when they're angry, you know, it's so different, it's so extreme, it's so serious, it's weird, it's like it's just otherworldly. And for Byakuya, he's been deadpan for like 300 episodes, and so for him to show some emotion, it's hard, and there's a lot on it, but I'm sure a lot of you guys will be facing that as well. So and all of the others that haven't had a chance to answer yet, like Ben and
well, for Shinji, he doesn't have a crazy amount of lines, so what I did originally back in 2016 when I first got this...
Stop reminding me!
When I first got this role, was I remember I would actually take all the Bleach volumes that I had of the final arc that were out at the time, and drive out to a parking lot in the middle of nowhere, and yep,
I think
for
I
real.
remember you telling me about this.
Yep. And I would just go through, find all the Shinji lines, look at his face, see the context, and be like, okay, how would he be talking here? And then I would just kind of say them to myself for hours to get myself in the thing. And one of the things that, because like I'm pretty confident in my ability to be like a sarcastic prick, kind of how Shinji is. It's kind of why I love doing them. But what I did want to get used to was, so the two lines that I focused on were, there's the one where he's talking to Rukia and Ichigo in the hospital. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. After the whole attack.
So that one where Shinji's kind of being a lot more like real with them. I did a lot of practicing on that and how like a genuine Shinji would sound. And then there's also the one where they're fighting Gerard and Momo falls off the cliff and he like screams, you know, Hinamori, you know. And I was doing a lot of so that was the big scream practice I was doing. I was trying to get the right level of emotion. So that's what I'd do. I would go out in the middle of the parking lot and just bring my volumes and practice. And I'll have to get back into doing that because it's been a while.
You just love reminding me how long this is taking.
I'm not trying to. It's just kind of like life has changed so much since then.
It has.
I've moved out of my parents' house and in my own apartment now.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
How about you, Ben?
For me, what I do is I do the Todd Habercorn approach, which basically means that whenever I'm recording, I have a picture of a headshot of Johnny Young Bosch just staring at me, and then whenever I'm like, struggling or something like that, I just think, what would Johnny do?
It has the same acronym as what would Jesus do as well.
Oh, what would you? The same thing. I mean,
in all seriousness, though, it's not. It isn't necessarily hard. I don't really find things necessarily hard for me to do. The only time when I need to like either hold back or like my acting isn't that great would be when I'm trying not to bother other people who are in the same house.
Mm-hmm. That can be a pain in the butt for a lot of people.
I know that.
And a lot of people with the
Being
project.
your own audio engineer.
Oh, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because
that was my favorite bit.
And you run your own project, don't you, Ruka?
Peaks. Yeah. I'm sorry, I had to interject because I was like, oh, that's the hardest part for me now that I think about it.
That's the thing. I'm
you
not.
Can act as good as you want. Oh, I was just saying you can act as good as you want, and then but if your mic peaks or something's wrong with your board and you didn't realize it, and you have to like start all over again.
Yeah. That's the thing that I'm really curious on. Like, if I were to ask you guys a question myself, because I mean, I have a decent microphone and I got it specifically just so I could do the project better. But on the few times I have to yell, and like you all get, especially Ruka and who was it? Bass Echo also were probably the first two examples where I'm like, wow, this is really clean audio. And I was kind of like, okay, am I doing something wrong? And I think I asked you, Ruka, about how far do you stand from your mic, and you told me pinky to chin, or pinky and thumb to chin, or something like that. Like your
thumb
hands
to chin, pinky out.
Yeah, that's how far you should be from your microphone. And that was a rule I remembered, and then I messed up something with my recording stuff, and it's been weird for a while, but it can really make a difference on how that kind of stuff happens after. And so, little shout out to Sean, because up until now he's done practically all the audio engineering for every video posted. Not update videos, but just all animations. And Sonami, I think you didn't get a chance to answer, did you?
No, I have not.
Go ahead.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? I had it in my head.
The most difficult thing about
Yeah. One thing I do struggle with is like crying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is. It's just to make it really, really believable. I don't know. I have a hard time with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then just another thing in general would be not slurring. I'm still trying.
Oh yeah.
I am still working on that.
That I can somewhat relate, because I have a pretty bad stutter that I've had to try and cap for the project and all this management stuff that I try to hide as best as I can, but it comes out. I think a lot of Squeaky, didn't you say that you had a bit, like you used to struggle a lot more with slurring as well?
When I was younger, I had a pretty bad lisp. So around late elementary school, I actually had some speech classes. And sometimes I still have that lisp, but I've just learned to control where the hell my tongue goes.
Yeah, I was always looking into classes as well, but since I'm like in the boonies, that's not really doable.
Yeah,
so
mine was
I kind of just had to, again, like watch like my placement and everything. And sometimes I have to, I have to kind of almost place my mouth in a weird position just so I don't slur on certain lines.
If it helps, one of the things that my speech classes used to do, because I had someone specifically assigned to me, she would put a straw in my mouth and tell me to hold the straw and then just say a lot of S words. And essentially what the straw does is hold your tongue back, because your tongue just wants to get all up in there.
Yeah.
See, I've actually never understood how people do the lisp thing. Like, I hear it, but I'm not sure, like, where does it come from and why do they not have control over it? But if it really is just the tongue doing that.
It depends. The tongue, the teeth, your jaw, where it is located, if it's too out, too in.
So if someone had like an underbite or something?
It could be a plethora of things. No one really knows. It's just one of those life's mysteries.
I've heard people... Go ahead.
Okay, like it could be like an overbite, underbite, like maybe, I don't know, just different stuff could affect like different lists.
Yeah, I have an underbite. It got a little while to get used to.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna answer the question because I don't think I've gotten time to chirp in.
Sorry, Liam.
I exist, please.
Notice me.
You know, I was gonna repeat what I was saying before. Accents will always be the hardest thing for me. Being Australian and having to go in American or Canadian voice projects, it's AIDS.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that? Probably not.
That's fine. That's fine. It's just the YouTube bots we're looking out for, really.
Yeah, I understand. But yeah, like, it just, one of my recommendations is just people that aren't American or Canadian, just try to learn how to mask your accent before you think you can voice act. Like,
that was a big thing.
Constructive criticism.
We had so many British people contact us, and I felt horrible because it's like, what do I say? Like, sorry, I can't give you the role because you're British. Oh, that's racist. No, not because that, but it's, this character, I didn't really envision them to be British. Well, why can't they be British? I'm sorry. Like, that was a big thing.
Almost everyone is German.
Oh, and the then the people making the argument, they're like, I'd like to voice as Quincy, and it's like, well, you seem to kind of struggle with English a bit there. And they're like, no, they're German. Look at the story. And it's like, oh, I know, but sorry.
It's a thing of, so that the audience and ourselves can understand, it's just better to have a neutral accent. And unfortunately, the neutral accent is apparently American.
Hey, it's in my opinion, it's Canadian.
Well, here's the thing: I've lived in both countries for now both over a year, and they sound the same.
Yeah, people try and take a shot at me for that.
Yeah, people always say like, "Yeah, I can hear the Canadian accent," and I'm like, "I'm giving off an accent." Okay.
Same here. I think we have 3 Canadians in the call.
Yeah, I'm from Ontario.
I only live in Canada.
I'm in Michigan, so I'm like 2 hours away from Canada.
You're honorary Canada.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, here's the next question for all of you. This was a more general one. What was the hardest technique / Japanese word to pronounce? I have a few stories with this, but I'll let you guys go in whatever order you want. If any of you have any funny stories with that. Yeah, you. Genrusa. I remember.
Yeah,
Genrusai. And then he did really well with those recordings. And then like I was listening to them, I'm like, did he just say Genrusai? I'm like, no! I have to ask him to do it again because I tried editing it.
You said Genrusai.
Genrusai,
like,
yeah.
Did I just say that? No!
Yeah, that was such a bummer.
He's gonna ask me to do it again.
Yeah. And I think totally cut me off if you guys have anything you want to say personally. With Ruka, I remember because you weren't familiar with Bleach. Your voice acting was perfect, but what was it? I think.
Sore no Shirayuki.
And when you said Bankai, I was listening to because one of my partners, and he's my best friend, Jake, helps me go through the auditions. And we were listening to your lines when you submitted them, and then instead, I guess you hadn't heard the word Bankai before, you said Banaki. which was a running, but
I said Banaki? That's worse than I thought.
But the thing is, we have a running joke, and there was a thing with Reddit where everyone would call it Banaki as a joke to butcher it on purpose because people are like, yeah, I know what Urahara's Banaki is gonna be. It's gonna be this, and it was a meme, and we're like, is she memeing us right now? Is she? I'm like, I thought she was really serious. This is hilarious, and it's like, no, she just butchered the word that bad.
I felt so bad because I was like, it was after recording episode 1 that I watched the show and I figured out who Rukia was and all that. And so saying, it was like, I think I said like Bonkiai or whatever, like you said, and I was like, I was so serious too. I was like, yes, this is it. This is the word.
She's confronting, because we've had her record for almost all of Rukia's scenes in the final arc. And it's the scene where Rukia is facing off as Not, and they're about to have their battle, and she goes, "You're the one who stole my brother's Banaki, aren't you?" And we just went, wait, hold up.
I can't even say, is it what?
Banaki. No, Byakuya. Yeah, you said, because I remember.
Byakuya, Banaki, like.
Yeah, I think I used to send you recordings of myself saying the words as clearly as possible to try and like help. And I was hoping.
Bonkai?
Yeah, Bonkai. And I started that because I heard the recording. It was like, she's not familiar with Bleach. Okay, all right, let's do it. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
And
It was
Wait until you witness.
That was beautiful.
Byaku as Banaki, yeah. No, it was for Bonkai, and then it was for her Soreno Shirai. That was the one that you had me like.
that
record
one, the thing was,
so many different times.
I couldn't say that word right, and I had to go get help, and it took me a while, and I was actually gonna send you a recording of my friend saying it because I kept stuttering on that one because it had a lot of S's, and I was like, oh crap, no.
It was hard because Rukia is so serious, and so like it's one of those words that you feel like you have to yell in order to get right.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't
I
quite
need
yell it
Yeah.
toward the end. So it was.
So it was pronunciation, right? Like what's the
Yeah. Like, what was the hardest Japanese thing to say? I guess.
pronounce? Anything that involves rolling R's.
Oh.
Yeah, like I can't roll my R's.
You can't.
Yeah, like they don't really roll. They have like an L and R swap, like like R's sound like L's, and like that I can do, right? But if it involves rolling R's, I don't. Do they have any rolling R's? Either way, yeah, I can't roll my tongue.
Well,
That's something you guys should know too for scripting.
I don't think unless we'd have you play one of those like Hispanic characters that are being a goofball, like the guy that Ichigo kept calling Panini. What was his name? He had the water stuff. I can't remember, but the other thing was we were kind of confused because I think that if anyone's familiar with it, in Naruto's English dub, all of them say everything in a very English way, and they don't try and like if you're to say Naruto, right? Like I'm saying Naruto, but in the Japanese they might go like Naruto.
Yeah, Naruto.
Naruto. And then all of the voice actors, you know, they had a pact and they're like, let's say it the English way or whatever, or we'll be consistent. And then the Sasuke voice actor's like, I don't care, I'll say it how I want. Naruto! Yeah, and then they're like, hey Naruto! And then Sasuke's like, Naruto! Like,
You mean Yuri Lowenthal because he studied in Japan?
yeah, and so he says it all correctly, and everyone else either looks weird or he looks weird, and so, and we were like, alright, should we crack down on the voice actors for this? But then we're kind of like, whatever, just let them do the thing.
I feel like saying it the slightly English way is the best way, because then if you have that one person who is like, oh man, Naruto.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, it's cringy. It's
Yeah.
very cringy.
It can be, and especially like it makes them stick out, and you don't want to do that to someone.
It's kind of like that one chick in Big Hero 6 where where she's like Hiro.
Oh,
like, and everyone's
right.
Hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
What's
that.
wrong, Hiro?
That was bugging me, and I'm like, I respect you, but you're pissing me off. Like,
Yeah,
Even,
no, I know my
even
one
funnier
friend.
when you consider that's apparently the Hispanic character.
really?
I think I know which character you're talking about, despite not having seen this movie. Is she like blonde?
Yeah. She's like the one that,
I can't.
like the
yeah, she's
kind of
apparently
airheaded one.
Hispanic. She's apparently like Latina.
Wow.
Is she really?
Yeah, she's I can't remember her name right now, but she's Latina.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of people are mad about her.
Name drop. But Ruka, were you gonna say? Did you have anything additional? I kind of told yours for you, unfortunately. Sorry.
No, that I'm looking forward to seeing what pronunciations come my way, but I'm gonna have fun
Oh,
with the names, 'cause it's
Zanpakuto. That one you also. That,
Zanpakuto.
yeah, that was fun. What was it?
Oh, because I
You
said
said-
Zanpakuto.
Yeah, you said Zanpakuto, and we're like, this
Zanpakuto.
sounds like some like African armadillo. Like,
What?
I was like, wow.
Rukia is so serious in delivery. I fail with confidence, guys.
Best way to fail.
It always,
Some-
is it really a failure if you're confident?
Only if you're caught.
Pretty much. Oh.
You poor thing. You had to send me so many voice recordings, and I kept listening to it, and then I'd forget as soon as I went to record. Oh,
I remember
fun.
I was like trying to also do whatever version of Rukia I could possibly do for it, because I was just like in the voice, and I was like kind of like whispering. I don't know why.
Ichigo. Yeah.
Oh man, there's so many characters that I'm so glad you guys took, because I was the voice for too many characters. It was gonna be cringy. It was gonna be bad.
I think you robbed the audience though. You would have made a beautiful Rukia.
Why
am I even here, Retro?
I don't know.
Are you still Chad?
If
Ryan?
I think I am. I haven't found anyone replace it, and that was the other question. Is someone asked, do you guys have like a get into character line that you do? And
yes.
My
I have an answer for this.
We'll go to you. But with my Chad thing was, I just remember this joke that we had when we watched Bleach with my friends like years ago. Was this really deep voiced guy just going, "I'm 15 years old," and it's like, okay, sure. And whenever I do, like, I'll just do that before getting into it. But yeah, you guys must have some too. So go ahead.
My abuelo.
Yeah, mine is again when he's fighting Grimjow, and he just in the dub he just lands in the building and he's like, my oh my, and I always start with just saying my oh my, and then I go from there.
Well, wait up. But Sonami as well.
Oh, for me, I had to listen back sometimes to the voice I originally did. So, I'll listen to the line I said and then try to, like, okay, I think I'm at the correct, either deepness or basically, my character. So I have to listen back just in case. Like, I don't want to change the voice from, episode to episode where it's not consistent, so I want to make sure I'm doing it still around the same area.
I could see that being something to look out for. Ben?
Again, the character voice line? I thought we were talking about the ones that made it struggle.
No. No. We switched. We tangented.
Okay.
Like a thing that you say, like when you're like, like the me, like getting into the voice. Like, what's a line that's like, all right, now I can do the voice.
I think just quietly saying just Bankai in Ichigo's voice makes me, I'm sorry, Banaki, helps me really well. Like, I'm just like,
Fight me.
Because it's like relatively low, so I'm like, Banaki.
I wanna do a little short on the channel with you guys just butchering your lines as hard as you can.
Oh my god, yes!
I've wanted to do just funny. I think one of the earlier videos I had was just something called Rukia on a Train.
Yes! That's OG Ryan!
Yeah, and it was like one of my old friends just going choo choo, and I was like, oh, that kind of sounds like Rukia, and so I just animated Rukia on a Train and just uploaded it back before.
And then people got triggered, right?
No, people thought it was hilarious.
I thought you got
no. People didn't get mad at me until the Kenpachi video.
It was the Kenpachi Bankai that people started like unsubbing and
they didn't watch all of it, idiots.
Yeah. Has everyone here seen my Kenpachi video?
Yes.
Yeah.
People were taking away their donations.
Yeah, that was when I realized
that was so dramatic.
I had become too big to have fun.
That's so sad.
It's true though.
I have been dead since 2016, thanks Shinji. But yeah, if anyone else had a get into line thing that they wanted to say, get into character.
Well, in true Orihime fashion, I just yell, Ichigo!
Yeah.
Ichigo! Over and over again, and then suddenly I am Orihime.
Beautiful.
I do that, but I yell. I do the exact same thing. I say Ichigo, but I yell.
As Rukia does.
I'm like, so you think it's good to see you again, you know? Nice to see you again, Ichigo. That's what you thought! Like, I just do that.
Oh, that's right. When she kicks him in the face.
Oh, Ruki's the best. Does Aizen have one? I'd be curious.
Aizen, how about you? Wait until we get to you, Aizen.
Are you alive?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions for Aizen.
Oh,
and most of them are, when were you under the impression that I was voicing Aizen? Just things like that.
of course.
Everyone thinks they're funny.
I was gonna say though, for Yuha, how I get into his character, I just swear a bunch in German.
No.
That's
Do you know German?
No, I don't. I was just joking.
Oh.
I wish I did though.
Nine. Just no offense, audience. That is Diver.
No offense whatsoever, but I for whatever reason I just get fixated to that whole line where he's like, It's the final battle between him and Ichigo, and it's that line that's like,
Was it the doors closing?
What? Sealed. What?
Was it the windows being shut or something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That window has been sealed shut, Ichigo. Yeah, that line. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be a good one for it. I kind of, if I was, because the thing is, pretty much all the deep character voices I have like tried and gone nope. But that was, if I were to try that, that's where I would go for it. But anyone else?
I just scream all things in the universe turn to ashes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Then I'm like, all right, I'm here.
Okay.
Give us your best Chad, Ryan.
I'm 15. I just sound like Eeyore. I just sound like Eeyore at this point. Like, I'm just looking for my tail. Like.
Oh my God, that was actually really good.
Don't
Oh,
mind
that's
me.
cool.
Wow.
God, Chad is just Eeyore. He's just like, how many fights?
There you go.
How many fights have you won, Chad? None.
I didn't even get to keep fighting the statues, you know?
Thanks for reminding me. Like,
That is so good.
My abuelo gave me this coin.
Abuelo's dead. Life is bad. Oh, that's sad. Oh, okay. Aizen, the question for you is, how does it feel playing such a hyped character who's so broken and OP? And are you gonna have fun with him?
Well, see, that question could also be applied to Yuha.
That's true.
Because I feel like
You're voicing both the antagonists of the series.
What about when they get to fight each other?
You know.
So remember when I said I was removing some stuff? I'm just kidding. No.
Best part of the last 20 chapters of Bleach.
That's gonna be a thing, in my opinion, and something we thought about it. Like, we'll just make sure that, because in my opinion, the Yuwatch should be a deeper voice than Aizen. Like, because he seems way older as well.
He's got a mustache.
Yeah, he's got a mustache. Obviously. Guys with mustaches have deep voices. Everyone knows it. That's why he goes, to me, Mario, you know? Like,
you know, I was so surprised when I heard his voice in Brave Souls.
Yeah.
Like, they gave him such an old sound, which makes sense. He's like over 1,000 years old.
Right, but he doesn't look 1,000.
But he doesn't look like it, exactly.
It was really stereotypical. Like, I kind of was like, I mean, it makes sense, but it didn't feel original. Like, it felt like the type of character. Like, it feels like the narrator, if you've ever seen One Piece, you know the guy who starts, he's like, at the beginning, who's like, what? Like, the old guy, like, the clan leader. Like, he just sounds like your typical old badass man. Like, and I would... Yeah, don't dig. Like, just old and Jabba the Hutt. He just sounds.
I'm glad I wasn't drinking anything because it would have came through my nose.
Sorry.
No, I wasn't. Luckily.
Yeah, but continue on if I interrupted you, which I did. I'm sorry.
Oh no, not at all. I was just gonna say, I guess it's really fun to do the voice of both characters.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine when that battle happens, it's going to be confusing on just switching between the two and trying to like keep that pace going.
I'll do a voice changer. I'll just make one sound underwater.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, yeah, and just I don't know, it's just one of those things where you kind of have a little too much fun, and then you try hold the same voice like that whole day.
Yeah.
And your friends and family are just like, what are you doing right now? And I'm like, oh, sorry, I kind of just got into character too deep into it. Anyway, and just switch over to your no more voice as if nothing happened. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite between the two?
A favorite between the two?
Do you prefer Aizen or do you prefer Yuha?
I used to prefer Aizen a whole lot because I do like that sonorous kind of voice that he just I'm not a fanboy, but if have to go with Yuha just because of the craziness, the insanity that I've kind of just have given him off.
Well, he can feel like yours a bit more too, I'm sure, right? Because he hasn't had a voice before.
Right, exactly. And so it's like it's new. It's this experimental thing where you're just like, oh, you know, I'm gonna try this and see if that kind of fits in with this character. And the thing that I've always made constant was because there's this whole thing with the 1,000-Year Blood War arc where it's the main premise is the Quincy's getting revenge. So I imagine that he harbors this, 1,000-year-old grudge, this subtle anger that comes from his voice. And so sometimes I try to emulate that in my lines, especially when he's like talking with, other Shinigamis or even comrades, just kind of giving that subtle, feistiness, that for lack of a better word, just kind of give him that.
This kind of like passion and aggression that he has.
Yeah,
that's one thing. Because I remember when I discussed with you for voicing him, I want him to be more emotional because like something in Bleach, especially if for everyone who's watching who is a Bleach fan, a very common thing is characters who are powerful are usually just kind of bored with the fight or just kind of like they seem like half asleep, and it's cool for the first little while, but I would really prefer if someone's supposed to be really important or like I'd rather them have more passion, because like if they're, especially for like a fight or something like that, if both the characters are extremely passionate, then it's a way better fight, rather than one person desperately. It feels like it's more so of a clash between strong wills versus when your older brother is holding you by the head and you're running at him on the spot, like it just feels more like that when you make one character kind of like, yes, I knew you were going to do that. I'm kind of going to win this fight if you haven't realized it. Like, it's just boring in my opinion. So I wanted everyone to put a little bit more emotion into their lines than say the original voice actors might have.
Yeah, pretty much don't sound like Saitama.
Yeah, basically.
Saitama has emotions when there's a sale.
Yeah, and that's funny, right? He's got that's a good mix of a character, and he's a satire character, so it works well for him.
Exactly.
Question for, unless someone else, wait, no, that was a question specifically for you. So a question for all of you, and we'll try and keep the answers short on this one. Dear old voice actors, how often do you find yourself having to redo your lines? So we'll go from top to bottom. So Ben, how about you? I've really had to bug you over the last year. Not because you keep screwing up your lines, but just like, we decided the script in this, so if you could record this, we just... Ichigo has been very, very hard to voice for, so thank you again.
Yeah, no problem. The question was,
how often do you have to record or retake your lines, would you say?
Not too often, I would say. I mean, like, every time well, actually, this probably answers the question, but whenever I record at least one line, I fumble at least like once or twice, but that's about it.
Liam?
20 to 40 times. about 30 times a line, something like that.
And what
I want to get it perfect. I have a high standard.
Yeah, and something that I don't think everyone knows is when we have the voice actors record, they take multiple takes of the same line, and then the directors, usually me or say sometimes Sean or Jake, will go and look through it and we'll go, okay, I like this one, and then we'll use it in the animation.
It's very important to get the right inflection, and a lot of takes will help with that.
Yeah. Loom's out on his date now, but Loom was probably the most takes I've ever heard for a character, and we actually instilled the 4 or 5 take limit now. But before, Loom sent in I think 25 takes for the same line on one of the dialogues for Uryu, and it was like around that for all of them, and I was going through it and I'm like, oh boy. I'm like, because he has only like probably I'd say 2-3 minutes worth of dialogue if you put it mashed it all together for the episode. And the voice file he sent was like 24 minutes long. It was like, oh my god.
Wow.
And so I'm like, thank you for the variety, but yeah, then we were like, all right, maybe we should change the system a bit. Yeah, committed. But yeah, go ahead, Cole.
What was the question?
How often do you find yourself re-recording your lines or redoing retakes?
I've heard on a professional scale that you should do one line at least 3 times with various takes, with various pauses in between. However, Richard Cargo, he told me, I've been doing this for 35 years, so I usually just go in once. So I try and just do it once and done. As much feeling as I can, but 2 or 3 times at max.
Okay. How about you, Red?
Well, I haven't recorded any Shinji yet. I'm looking forward to when you contact me for that. But when it
Don't
comes
we have
to,
I think we have your old lines though.
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant. I haven't recorded for the actual project yet. But when it comes to my my tryout, I actually sat down with my mic and I did. Let's see. I think I did 5 different lines, and then I did maybe at least 10 different takes for each one, and that was just because I had never really tried voice acting before, but I just really wanted to be part of this project.
So I remember going through that with you.
Yep, thank you for that, by the way. So I kind of just went through, I did 10 different takes, a bunch of different reflections, and then I listened to them and picked out what I assumed to be the best one of each one, and then that's what I sent to you. So,
Awesome. Ruka?
Usually I do 3 to 4 takes for each line, unless you have my brother's Baniki, then I take a little longer. But
the Banaki takes a warm-up period, yeah.
Byakuya's bikini.
That's a fan art. That's Patreon Sunday.
Oh god,
Oh
that
my
was
gosh.
actually. It's funny. It's funny you say that. That was. I think some of you know I do those Patreon streams where I sketch things for them.
Yeah.
And there was someone named Bobo1 who came every week for like 6 weeks asking for me to draw Kenpachi in a bikini.
I remember this.
And I eventually just did it just to get him to stop asking. And I
Where is it?
We're not showing it. It's not on screen. It's not on screen.
At SFW.
It's not going. No comment.
Better be in the video.
So to me, how often do you find yourself redoing your lines?
Like doing redos?
Yeah.
Recently for our project I'm part of.
Yeah, you guys can. By the way, you guys can include any other work in your answers as well, if it counts.
Yeah, like, cause the only thing I've actually recorded for you so far was really the episode 1 extras. So, I didn't have to do any redos for that because I gave you, I think, 3 takes, for that.
Yeah, and they almost all of them were like perfectly fine. And she, Sonami voiced some of the for if any of you have seen the episode 1 teaser, the scenes in Mayuri's lab, some of the voices in the back of the laboratory people. Sonami is one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, so I remember doing 2 to 3 takes for that one. But for this other project I'm part of, I had to do a couple of redos just because they didn't really give any, because, it's off of Twitter, the project, so if they email me, I get no live direction or anything. I just go based off what they wrote down, like, oh, this person, is angry right here. Whether they tell me, okay, this has to be a little bit more intense, or, oh, like, she finds this kid really, really cute. You have to go even more beyond, like, fangirling for this part. I'm like, okay. So a couple redos like that. Yeah.
Squeaky, how about yourself?
I'd say it's similar to kind of what Cole referenced, where you just take the line and do maybe a couple takes in different angles. Now that I'm living with Tristan, he's usually behind me with most of my recording.
And that must be helpful because he gives you some guidance, right?
He gives me some bit of direction. When he's not here, I just kind of wing it myself. Rarely do I get asked for redos, funny enough.
No, you've done perfectly fine so far.
Yeah, so it's a thing of, again, the multiple angles is definitely one way to do it. I always tend to start high because it's better to start high and take away from it than start low and then have to add to it.
Yeah.
So usually in the very rare instances where I have been asked to do redos, it's always, you have a lot of energy here, just calm it down a little bit, and then it's like, oh, that's easy. So very rarely have I been asked for redos. Most of my asked for redos have been when I've done paid work.
Yeah. Tatiana?
I haven't really recorded anything for the official project, but in the past, I guess 3 to 5 takes. I don't know. For me, it's just because I live with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it takes like, I don't know, a long time to get people to shut up. But yeah, that's it.
We've recently had a air show in my town, and there's been jets buzzing my house for the past week.
Me too.
And I've been trying to
Even now?
record, and I'm like, "Hey guys, Rich Ryno." Damn it!
It's that Space Force, man.
Yeah, it's great.
Love
But,
it.
go ahead, Yami. Yeah, you and I have had to definitely, because you're voicing some pretty critical characters there.
I was gonna say, how many times did I mess up on Yamamoto's name? Multiply that by 5. That's how many it takes.
So,
Yeah.
I think
You
we had
can't tell, but
we had 4 tries for the Ludus one.
You can't tell, but I'm tisking in disappointment.
I'm just eating the carrot.
It was interesting because when I did Looters, let's see, like a couple months after doing the original take, I had forgotten what voice I used originally.
That was the thing I noticed, because your first one, I think
Yeah.
you're probably the only person in here who can do a deeper voice than me. And the first one you did was like, rumble, like, it was crazy, and I was like, oh my god. And then I think I told you when you did it, pardon? What'd you say, Tetian?
Saying do it now.
Oh. And then when you did the voice again a little bit later, because we've changed some things from the original script. I think everyone who's read the script so far, you'll notice there's that whole 17 at the end of it. That's because there's been 17 versions of that script, and you guys have only seen 2 of them. And so I had to get Yami to re-record because we updated the script, and he did that. You did, as you said, you did a different voice for him the second time, and I was like, oh, do the old one. I like the old one.
Yeah, it was a creepier, like, here's free candies sort of.
Yeah, like the guy that you're like, okay, just give me the candy and I'll get to the next house. Happy Halloween, bye.
Yeah.
And I've updated the page. I'm taking a look at it for any last minute questions. There's a question for Rukia, if you wouldn't mind. The question is, I have one for Rukia. I love Rukia, so deal with it. How do you feel about Rukia's Bankai and her position in Soul Society? Rukia, I don't think you're that far, and I think
is she captain at this point?
at the end of it, she's captain, but about where this person's referring to, their name's Smarty. There's a part where Rukia gets a Bankai to fight Asnot because Asnot stole her brother's Banaki, and
It will never last.
That's not
It's supposed to be the most beautiful. That one.
Yeah,
Snow.
yeah. She does pretty much. Her Bankai is just what's it called? Absolute Zero.
Ice nuke.
Yeah, it's an ice nuke. Basically, everything around her becomes as frozen as possible.
I
And-
watched that scene. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was actually the first real show of animation I did as well. Was the first bit of Rukia versus Asnot. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I think you did have a bit in there.
And that was creepy. Yeah.
It was awesome.
So, what do they want to know?
Pretty much they're asking how do you feel about Rukia's Bankai, but since I don't think you're super well versed on that section of the story, we could perhaps turn the question to how do you feel about Rukia as a character?
Oh wow, that got so much cheaper. Well, one, I think her. Now I'm worried I'm gonna say it wrong. I've been saying it right this whole time. Her Bankai.
Yay!
Yay!
Thank you. I
Thank
think
you.
really
A true professional.
nicely
Standing
animated.
ovation.
You know?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
funny twist is that Bankai was wrong all along. It is Banaki.
Yeah, we're all
Okay,
wrong.
now-
Ruka's right.
Confirmed it.
Who am I?
They also spelled her
Um,
name wrong. There's no I in Rukia, of course. We found
I
that
know,
we
I've
found
been
that
trying
so
to tell
funny that our Rukia's voice actor is named Ruka, and we're like, is that?
It's not just like a web name. That's your real name. It's crazy.
It was funny, but Rukia as a character, I grew to like her. I wasn't sure about her at 1st
Mhm.
because of her kind of just like popping up and being herself, but I don't know. I grew to like her and her seriousness, and the way that she looked up to her brother and the way that things went down. Like, it was, I liked her. She grew on me. So I don't know exactly how to describe it, but I've loved getting to voice her, and I like getting mad at Ichigo. It's just fun to me. Like, some of my favorite parts, I'm like, yes, give me a yelling line. Give me a yelling line. Yes, I get to be mad. Okay. It's just funny.
Not fun for me.
I know it's not. But she's so stoic throughout, like her brother was, you know, throughout most of the series, and then Ichigo pisses her off, and she goes off the cuff, and I love that display of emotion from her. So she's a cool character. Basically wrapping that up.
That's something that I think people will see. If you're a Patreon, you've seen a little here and there of what the first episode looks like. I think I said in my most recent update video that some characters are being removed, or we're working around with things. I guess I'll kind of just reveal now or talk about it now that I kind of have you guys here with me. And we have Rukia in the first episode, actually, because we originally had it kind of really close to the manga, but we kind of were like, well, we want to do as much as possible, or at least cover as much material as possible, and so we decided to kind of do a more condensed version of the final arc, or at least cut out whatever we deemed really like, is anyone going to care about this? And that included the unfortunate removal of Shino and Ryunosuke, I think his name was, which are basically yeah, which basically they're just the two no-name brand Shinigami at the beginning of the arc.
They never went anywhere.
They didn't. Nothing really
why
happened
were they
with
there?
them. Right, and so we kind of went like, all right, so we could cut them out, but then we need someone to, you know, pop up and be there with Ichigo. So we were like, okay, why don't we add Rukia? And something else that we were really looking forward to was, I think almost all Bleach fans can agree that one of the best things, or the times where they enjoyed Bleach the most, was kind of like at the beginning and the dynamic they had, where Ichigo was always hanging out with his friends and there was a lot more human world stuff, and Rukia was sitting in his closet always harassing him or yelling at him or hitting him with something. And so we're like, okay, maybe here's a chance to try and get the dynamic, what would it be called, with, was it 5 people? Just get the group back together, get the band back together, and throw Rukia in there as well, since they don't really see each other that much more for the rest of the arc. They're kind of separated, so we're like, all right, we'll give the, you know, kind of little throwback to how the series was at the start. And so she's replaced our lovable characters, Ryunosuke and Shino. So that was something that we were hoping that people would appreciate, and it's definitely made for some fun dialogue, and the animating it has been fun. And
meanwhile, the one person that's a fan of both of them just unsubscribed.
Funny enough, our Mayuri voice actor is a huge fan of them and got really angry when we removed them, and he was just like, I'm leaving, man. And I was like, come on.
But that's, I'm gonna guess that's the not, this is gonna be confusing, that's the guy that names himself Aizen on the server.
Yeah, his name, his base name is Pickleman. And,
oh, there it is.
Yeah, and funny enough, yeah, Ruka's had some interactions with him. Pickleman, he's like our mascot troll. He's been around longer than all of you.
Yeah. Take, package, and sell trolling.
Yeah,
to a corporate level, it'd be him.
Yeah, he
You
is.
mean I haven't been dealing with the real Aizen this whole time?
Aizen? Oh my god.
Oh shit.
With my Baniki?
With my Baniki.
What's Aizen's Baniki?
Oh.
Do we also need Aizen in a bikini?
Yeah. When were you under the impression I wasn't already?
I'm just gonna mispronounce everyone's names for the entirety of this.
Under the bondage is just a bikini.
Yeah.
One of my friends did a shout out video for me once, and it was horrible, but I appreciated it. But they called me Retro Ryno, and
oh my god!
And people were like, "Are you reeing over that?" I'm so funny. Oh god.
Yeah, I mean, who's called you Retro Ryno before?
You have too!
No, what are you talking about?
Yeah, Ben did.
It's just gonna be a running joke of the series that everyone mispronounces everything all the time.
Ben, Ryno. It's based on. Okay, who here knows why I called myself that?
Oh, you said it at some point, and I forgot.
Oh, but I forgot.
Oh my god, Cole.
You like rhinos?
I don't even like Ryno. That's the funny thing. My
name's... You don't like retro rhinos?
No, I like more modern rhinos, thank you. They're a lot more green.
Yeah, Modern Mongers.
Oh God.
Oh, you
They-
don't like it?
That was dead, huh?
Yeah, I hoped, I prayed, but alas.
That was a gift from Tekking, our god.
Oh God.
Right?
Basically, it's because my name is Ryan. In real life, the nickname.
No, I'm kidding.
What? What? Name reveal. It's almost like my about said, "Hi, I'm Ryan White. I'm an animator. I live in Canada for the last 6 years." But
That's insane.
it's insane.
It's okay, Rian.
My God. But
I'll beat myself.
basically, the nickname comes from in real life. My friends in real life would call me Ryno because basically I'm really tall. I'm 6'3", and they just call me Ryno, even though I can't hurt anything. And so I was just like, okay, let's make a name. And what am I? Well, I'm nostalgic and I like old stuff, like old and Nintendo 64 games and stuff, so I'll just call myself Retro Ryno, and it's stuck. It's the first time I've ever enjoyed a name or username or stuck with one for more than a
It
month.
has a ring to it.
It does. And
Branding.
the amount of retro Ronaldos, retro retard type of stuff I've heard over the years has been
To
great.
be fair, giraffe wouldn't have fit.
Ugh. Retro giraffe,
wouldn't
yeah.
have- He's so tall.
His neck is just like, oh God.
I'm just saying, you're really tall. You're tall. You're like a good foot taller than me.
I actually, Squeaky was at the convention that I attended last weekend.
Yeah, this past weekend actually.
But anyway, I think we'll wrap this up, and I'll ask all of you two quick things. Oh, actually, there's Attack Online, who's a longtime helper of us, asked a question. Are these your first roles that you voiced for? If not, what other projects have you been a part of? So this is a little time if you guys want to shout out your other works. Hey, Ruka, my cold-blooded prince, or king, or
King.
Retro Ryno?
Retro. Let's go.
Let's
Okay.
go. Let's
Throw
fight.
the
Let's
headphones
go.
down.
I've won 0 fights in high
Go,
school.
yeah.
I got you. Okay. And two is the character you currently voice for the first or only character you auditioned for. So is there other characters that you're hoping to get and you didn't end up getting them, kind of thing, I guess. And who, if you could be one of the characters in the series that you didn't end up getting, who would it be? And that's asked by Attack Online. So yeah, anyone who wants to answer, go ahead. Does anyone remember the beginning of the question?
If you're still thinking, are you gonna have the one little Sea Isle scene with Mayuri?
Sea Isle?
Do you remember when Sea Isle comes
Oh,
back?
that's how you say his name. Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Miuri versus.
Pronunciations here.
There's my pronunciation. God damn it. No, sorry.
It's SZY, so I mean.
I just called him Drag Queen.
I've considered. I've looked into his the line, like basically 3 pages that he's back, and I would love to do like a one insane character. So that's someone I'd like to do.
Yeah, Xylophone looked like a fun character. Yeah, sure. And anyone else?
This was my first role, but since then I've been casted as Tony Stark in an Avengers project.
Oh, really?
As well as, yeah.
Oh, you weren't kidding. I thought you were just trolling.
I saw.
And main villain.
Ooh.
Another type of project. Yeah.
I'm gonna PM you later because I want to know what that project is.
All right, because I have no clue what it is.
You gotta actually answer me. You can't just wait 3 months and then answer me like you understand.
All right, girls. Bring your purses outside. No, I'm just kidding.
Look. Hold my hoops.
Take my heels. Yeah. Anyone else?
Go ahead, Summer.
Oh, okay. It doesn't. The thing I'm going to be talking about, it's like a little series animation thing that I auditioned for off Twitter. I was talking about earlier. I'll actually be voicing the main female role, Evelyn, in that. But
is it an original work?
yes, it's an original work. Yeah.
Awesome.
The thing is, I actually don't know the name of it. They were like they just said, "Oh, we're looking for actors for this original thing." I'm like, "Okay, I'll audition." So I still have no idea what the thing. Like, I know what it's about. I just don't know what the name of it actually is. But it's like, I don't know how many artists you guys follow on Twitter, but they go by M_Doodles, and then
I know them.
then F Payro, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's it's gonna be a series from them.
Awesome. Ben, how about you? You seem to get around with your voice work.
Let's see. I am in a project, I believe.
By Retro Ryno. But
I think I have. It's only the audition process right now, but they told me that they really like my voice and they're like really considering casting me.
So what'd you do to impress them? Like, how did the whole process work? It was. That was beautiful.
I love it when he does the effect.
But yeah, for myself, someone just died. Oh, I think it was Liam.
Yeah, clown just bailed.
Liam died.
Probably because the Uber has arrived.
He's got to get to the circus. Clown does. I don't, like I said at the start, I don't consider myself a voice actor, but I actually have done stuff before I was doing Retro Ryno stuff. There was a thing on Facebook like 7 years ago, maybe, no, probably not that long, but I played Ganondorf for a Zelda fan project, and after that there was my friend did this whole Pokemon thing, and I voiced there was this crazy laboratory dude with a giant white beard, and he had crazy like sideburns. And he just asked me because I was the only one of us that sounded like over 14. So I ended up voicing that. And I don't think I've really done much else. Running the project has forced me to try voice acting a little bit more. And it's hard because I'm paralleled and surrounded by people who do this as a profession. And so it's like, I run this, and I'm also like one of the worst voice actors among you, but you know, let's do this, you know. But it's definitely, it can be fun.
This isn't my first, but I do not remember the old ones because they were quite a while ago. So.
Yeah. What about you, Yami? You definitely.
Well,
have done other stuff.
Oh no, I actually have not.
Really?
This is like, yeah, this is my first role ever. Like.
You actually had a demo reel though.
Well, yeah, that was me auditioning for this, actually.
Did you create that for this project? Wow.
I
made this for you. Drink my hot Kool-Aid.
I never wanted to reveal.
Copyright strike. No. My cat.
But yeah, that I don't know if you remember, like when I sent that, I also attached this like long worded email of just like me kind of just vomiting my feelings about this project.
I remember because you were a big Bleach fan, and I saw your old demo reel from a long time ago where you did Bleach impressions, and I was like, yeah, this is something that's you've been trying for a long time. So
yeah, no, I was just like, you know what, let's have at it, because it's like I've always wanted to just dabble in the field of voice acting, and you know, I've had friends that are like, hey, you should do something with your voice. And a long time ago I used to do college radio. And
oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was told I had a face for radio.
Hey, me too.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh no. But yeah, I just I thought, you know, why not just pursue something that also involves using my voice, and let's see where this goes. And here I am. Blessed to be amongst the pros. So this is it's a amazing opportunity.
Awesome. Anybody else? Oh wait, we haven't heard about your project yet, Ruka.
Oh, okay. Well, I've done a couple projects. I have one on my channel that I'm doing right now, called My Cold-Blooded King, and it's a romance webtoon, so it's like an audio drama. I've done a couple video games. I have some that I'm currently not allowed to speak of,
NDAs.
but we'll be excited to announce soon, yeah. And I did something for Zelda Universe recently as Lana for one of their dubs, and so I've done quite a few things. So this wasn't my first role, but it's definitely been one of my favorites so far, just because of meeting Retro Ryno and you know all that great stuff.
Oh boy.
Retro Ryno.
Oh boy.
Ryno.
What have I missed? I'm so sorry.
Pretty much we're just going over, the question was, is this your first voice role? And if not, what are some other projects you've worked on? But
Alright, cool.
But Rukia, you can tell your Zelda people if they're looking for Ganondorf. Don't ask me.
Oh, come on! I love your voice.
I think
But,
was the first time you heard me, because you didn't watch my videos or anything. Was it when I started sending you the voice pronunciations for your lines and stuff? Was that the first time you heard me?
Well, the first time I heard you, I think I watched one of your animations that you said that you were voicing it at the time. And then, but it was the voice samples, and then I thought you were so much older.
Oh,
same.
Too,
aren't we the
because of how
same
deep
age?
Your voice was. I'm a little bit older than you.
Yeah.
Just barely. My birthday I turned 21 yesterday.
Oh, that's
So,
right. Yeah,
happy
I was gonna say, happy birthday, Rukia,
So,
everyone.
I'm a little older than you.
You just beat me by a day.
Ryan, aren't you like actually 12?
Oh, yeah.
I remember when you guys used to think I was like 19 or something.
Yeah, because you were like, because we had a lot of people, especially at the beginning of the project, who, and obviously it's not their fault, they were younger, and my fan base was like that, and I was a little bit more interactive with everyone, personally one-on-one, and so a lot of the people that were applying for voice acting roles, they were like 13 or 14 and applying for like Byakuya, and I was like, oh, guys,
Yeah.
sorry. And then Tatiana, I was like, awesome, cool, someone my age auditioning, this is good. And how old were you at the time?
I think I was like 14.
Yeah. And I was like, what? Because
Well, I'm sorry. It was funny, so I just kept it going.
yeah.
Yo, time flies when the project hasn't come out.
Okay, yeah.
I could not animate this. That's fine. I don't mind.
Oh god, yeah.
We're just all gonna be stick figures. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna be on a train, and everyone will
I'm
release
gonna
the
animate.
New series.
And I'm as good as-
Ruka's the
I'm
new
as good as a
animator.
drawer as,
The following
Just-
episode of
Rukia and I
Bleach will
have
be
the same art skill.
Oh god.
the following episode of Bleach will be animated in VR chat.
Oh god.
Yeah. We're all just in like using Connect to like move our characters.
The following program was animated on Paint MS or MS Paint.
Just open your Photoshop and just drag the characters around with your mouse. And just
Oh
record
my
yourself.
god.
like
Like
high
that
school,
meme?
YouTuber high school.
Yeah. I've thought about doing on April Fools. I was gonna release the first episode, and it was just gonna be, this funny thing, because one of the things, especially at the beginning of the project, the number one harassed thing was the shipping stuff, and so I was like, on April Fools, what I was gonna do is I was gonna have Ichigo, and it was gonna be animated really bad, like on purpose. Like I was gonna use a mouse, and it was gonna be like, Ichigo, pick Rukia or Hime, and then I was gonna have him pick Chad, and then they would go on like a honeymoon and on a horse, like that kind of thing. And then like he wakes up and it's just like Khan or something like that.
And then watch all the Patreons go in.
Well, I mean, on April Fools, I think anything can really.
You'd hope.
You'd
that they
hope,
didn't
but
get it.
they've
I think
gotten
people
really
can
mad.
take a joke
You-
on the internet.
I mean,
That's funny.
You should honestly, you should be really careful when it comes to fandom stuff. Like, look at
Yeah.
Voltron. Right now, they're shouting,
I've heard
"You
about that.
queer
No.
baited us."
Oh no.
man.
Isn't Chad X Ground a thing already?
Oh,
So-
I think I created that joke for a long time, and then everyone in the comments, when they didn't know how to be like creative, they're just like, "Here's a passing Rich Ryno used to say a lot," or like the Sasuke thing.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, I used to do like this Itachi voice from, and I'd be like, Monkey kill Sharingan, Sasuke.
I'm sure people are gonna be curious if you're gonna fix the ships or not.
Fix the ships.
I can like,
Not for me. I mean, like people
Yeah.
say that in the comments.
I
I'm not
just-
I like.
I got death threats over that stuff, so I'm not gonna touch it.
Really?
Yeah, oh, many. And I was,
Doesn't
I'm actually,
surprise
I
me.
don't know.
You touch our animator, we'll baniki you.
To
Absolutely.
be honest though, I don't know why I said it's a surprise. It's not actually surprising. Like, people, I
Let's
don't
not
know.
forget that they
it's-
burned their manga.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
There were people
I
burning
know.
their
Oh,
volumes.
Someone
It's so
was-
ridiculous.
someone found my
Saw that.
personal Facebook and messaged me,
Oh no.
and I was 17, and I was like really scared, And I was like, oh god. I'm like, I just want to draw. Why are people being mean? Like,
the internet's so mean.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, right? I ship, couples, whatever. I
Right.
love shipping.
I like romance and stuff
The
too.
thing is, I don't get mad. Like, I don't get mad if it's not a canon thing, because it's just fun to ship.
Exactly.
Go together. Like, I was watching a movie with my grandmother, Harry Potter, because she's never seen it, and she's like, "Oh man, I hope Harry Potter gets with Hermione." And I'm just like,
Rage, Grandma.
But like for me, like when I was first watching Bleach, like the first 4 times before I kept dropping it at the bound arc because I didn't realize filler was a thing.
Yeah.
I really shipped Ichigo with Rukia because I don't know, I really liked it. And I'm fine with Orihime too.
Those people, I'm not sure which side was scarier, but people also tried to bribe me. Like, some people were like, I will give you $1,000 if you do it like this kind of thing. Like, people were like so desperate, especially through 2017.
What were some of the ships you were asked to change? Like,
people wanted me, like, some of the requests, like, some of them were just horrible, and I won't say, but someone was really mad, and they're like, Rich Ryno, you've said before that you don't believe in censorship, so if you cut out that part with, was it Giselle and Zombie Bambi? It's basically like a rape scene. I'm not, and I think I told people in the stream, I'm like, I'm not animating that because that doesn't add to the story. It was disgusting. I don't want to do it. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just not fun. It's not going to be fun. And also,
content, dude. That's
Patreon.
content.
Yeah, Patreon only content. Hey guys, want to see the zombie get
That's how you
like,
Patreon
yeah.
right there.
But and then people are like, if you don't put it, I'm gonna call you out. I'm gonna call you a hypocrite. People, I'm surprised. Like, I thought, not like, basically, well, I'm not surprised anymore. But naive Ryno from like a year or two ago was like, I'm an animator and artist. People don't go after them. No, they do. And there's people who've made videos calling Rich Ryno as a con artist. People have said like Rich Ryno is lying and cheating, like he doesn't actually animating, like he's just taking people's money because he's taking forever. And I'm like, I feel like everyone forgot that I did Byakuya versus As Not, which is as good as an episode in my opinion. I went full out for that, and I thought people would appreciate it because it's like a super hype moment in the series.
Appreciation on the internet, that's funny.
It's important. The perspective you have to remember is that like it's typically a minority that's being like really rude like that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping that the majority is loving in comments. You know.
It's just that the minorities tend to speak a lot louder.
That's the sad part. Yeah.
There's more of us if I speak louder.
they're like, Retro Ryno doesn't animate. All those live streams that show him animating, no, that's just some other dude he's talking
Well,
about.
I mean, to be fair, I stopped doing the live streaming thing because I was trying to like be more professional about it, because I used to get some advice and they're like, don't show things, and then it'll surprise them when it comes out. I kept everyone in the dark for Byakuya versus As Not, but then I did that in 30 days. Episode 1, not 30 days. So
Clearly.
Hey, shut up.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah. Actually, for everyone who has a little project that they talked about, give me the description after, and it'll be in the description, so take a look, and you can go check out their works as well. And if you perhaps have some stuff you'd want to hire these fine people for, if you guys like want your Twitter handles in the description or something like that. Teddy, my email.
Yeah.
Here's all the links I want.
I'll leave contacts for everyone in the call who wants it in the description, so you can check them out. And they're really talented, so if you have some work that you'd like to hire them for, go for it. Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me for this.
Thank you, man.
Problem. Thank you.
No worries. Now I'm just at work, so we'll get on to that.
Enjoy that. Thank you guys.
Yeah, it was awesome talking with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool.
And this is also the first time.
We should try to make this Discord more active.
Yeah.
Get some more talk.
yeah.
This is the first time I've had more than 2 or 3 voice actors together at the same time. So this is iconic.
One big happy
Monument.
We're a big happy Benaki.
So happy.
Hi.
And then there's Liam.
Well, we'll try to do this a little. If the project continues on and I don't die, then we'll try to make this more.
Should we do a live stream next?
Yeah, I was just about to ask.
That'd be actually.
Yeah, we can try that.
I'll promote it.
Impromptu live stream.
And then
Right now.
Scribblio game.
Scribblio. Oh yeah,
I'll
Ruka.
play this.
We'll see how Ruka's animating skills are going at that time.
Let's do it.
Jackpot.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I've been working on it.
I was promised one Yamamoto question?
Where's my trailer? Oh.
He was.
Oh yeah, where's the Yamamoto?
This is gonna be an Aizen panel.
One of them, there was actually
Aizen
two.
Gabby
One of them, I cut out one because it's just like.
I cut out your one question.
No. One of them was just like, how do you feel about dying? And so, did I mention spoiler? But I think the I think what was it? I think the Yamamoto question was like, what's your favorite line to voice? Because like Yamamoto's such an epic and badass character. Like, what is the number one thing you're looking forward to seeing animated and like over your voice?
Well, I have it actually pulled up right now. It's when Yamamoto like just lands in front of Yuha and he's like, "I've come here to kill you."
Yeah.
And it's just gives me.
Oh, that is.
Or when he dies.
Yeah. You got a death noise planned out?
Just get water.
We must die. We'll die manly. Ow! Owie! Oh my gosh! Ow!
God,
that's.
I really want to do parody stuff with you guys. Just goofing around.
Actually,
It'll be
remember getting messaged by, I think, was it Chester? I'm actually gonna look right now.
Oh, for the I think we can talk about it. Yeah, there's something that we want to do. Episode 1 obviously is taking priority, and we're focusing on that because I know you guys are definitely not wanting to wait for that more. But we had something planned called the Quincy Questionnaire, which is basically the equivalent of the Shinigami Diaries or whatever. Yeah. Like the con.
I don't know the word.
Yeah, the con voice or whatever.
Shinigami Cup.
Yeah, Shinigami Cup. Yeah, golden. The stuff that would play after the Bleach episodes. I came up with a mini series of stuff like that to do. It'd be like low effort stuff, and we'd have the voice actors just goofing around, and we were writing scripts for it, and it was gonna be fun. And I think the first one would involve Bambi. And so that was
what he messaged me about.
Right. And have we finished recording for that? I'm not sure. I'm old.
I've never recorded anything for it. So.
But I think we have everything on Baz B's. I think we have some for Baz B, and I know Bass recorded. It was like with Mask as well, because pretty much it'll just be like the question. It'll be like this, but like more parody like. It'll be you guys get to ask questions to certain characters, and we'll do it in a funny kind of way. And yeah, so that's a thing to look for in the future. So don't go anywhere.
Oh, I'm going somewhere. I was kidding.
Okay.
Actually,
All right. Well, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
It'll never end, Ryan.
We're not ending.
There's a random thing that I just realized because you guys mentioned that we were doing sort of parody end slates. I just realized that there was like maybe 2 or 3 that revolved around Ryukin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's like Quincy Encyclopedia or something like that.
Yeah. We have. We don't have a Ryukin yet.
Oh, I thought he was just saying my name wrong.
Oh. No, some people.
That is a character, believe it or not. Shows up for 5 chapters at the end.
5.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys know.
Run out of names?
Ryukin Samuel. All right. Well, thank you guys again, and hopefully you guys can look forward to the next video, which should be, if things go correct, episode 1. And it's been a great journey, and I look forward to seeing you all there.
We promise it won't be another 2 years.
Or will it?
Maybe.
It'll be 1.9 years.
Yeah, it will be less than 2 years.
And thank you, bye! Yay! Bye. A lot of talented people have gotten together for.
Good job.
This is why I animate.
Man, I watched it all.
I ended up watching it all later, but and wait, Yami, do you have a fire alarm going on? Aizen,
Since when?
behave yourself.
Aizen's too hot for this panel.
His house is burning down.
He's too hot for the panel.
He's just
No,
laughing.
make that a.
God damn it.
What's wrong?
Whoa, language.
I forgot that I had to go on a date.
Oh. Okay, that's okay. All right. So
Stand up, someone, for this.
Don't worry about it. Go enjoy your date. We'll figure it out later.
Apologize to her.
Don't tell her you almost missed the date for this.
Ouch.
For anime.
I think she'd be honored. Thank you.
Oh yeah, would she?
I think it would have been a good excuse.
I would have been honored.
Oh boy.
Aw.
Right?
Not everyone can pull out their Banaki before the curtain falls.
He used his Shikai
Listen-
twice in the entire series. Twice.
Listen, Shanji. Listen.
Hey.
You know what I just realized?
Balconies are not for everyone.